Hello my stunning friends, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Rachel and welcome to my February wrap up. In the month of February, I was able to read 11 books. I also got my first 5-star of the year in February, which is very exciting. I actually have a couple 5-stars that I'm going to talk about with you all. And the rest of the month was a bit of a mixed bag as far as all the other books went. So I'm looking forward to talking about them with you all. So let's get straight into it. These are the 11 books I read in February and what I thought of them. All right, so the very first book that I read in the month of February was very random. This was not on my TBR, and this was a book that I just kind of off the cuff decided to pick up. After finishing House of Flame and Shadow, I wanted more like paranormal, urban, fantasy, romance, something in that realm. So I have seen this book going around on Bookstagram and on Goodreads, and I wanted to give it a shot, and that is Twilight of the Embers by Tessa Hale. So this is a why choose dragon shifter paranormal urban romance. I have never read a dragon shifter romance. I don't know if I've read many, if at all, like shifter romances, and I also have not read many Why Choose books, so I wanted to give this one a shot. I also love the cover. It is so stunning, the most beautiful purple. So this book follows our main character as she sets off to college. She has had a very rough life and has been independent for most of her life, but when she goes to college, she starts to meet all of these different men on campus, and she forms a connection with these 5 guys who really seem into her, and we quickly learn that they are dragon shifters, that they are all like connected, and they all have this draw to our main character. Along with that, we also have kind of this plot line of some bad guys wanting to come after our main character, wanting to come after the dragon shifters, and our main character does discover things about herself and her connection to these 5 men. So I ended up giving this book 2 stars, but it's not a situation where I'm like, oh my god, this book was so bad, 2 stars. I just don't think I'm the reader for it. You know when you can tell that like, this book is probably great for the right person, but I'm just not that person. I didn't really connect to Tessa Hale's writing style. I wasn't super in love with our main character. At times, she did give me not like other girls' energy, and I think that's kind of the biggest critique that I have of the book, but truly, I just don't think it was for me. I just, for whatever reason, I couldn't get into the story, and I just don't know how I feel about Why Choose. I don't actively dislike it, but I have not been able to find a Why Choose that I'm like, oh my god, this is incredible, give me all the Why Choose. So I am asking if you guys have any amazing Why Choose recommendations. I would love to do a reading vlog where I try out like fantasy romance Why Choose books. So if you guys have Why Choose recommendations that are like fantasy or paranormal, something in that realm that you think I would like, let me know. Also, how many times have I said Why Choose in the last 30 seconds? Are we okay? I'm gonna move on. This was 2 stars. Not a bad book, just not for me. All right, so after reading Twilight of the Embers, I read my first 5-star book of the year, and it was none other than Heartstopper Volume 5 by Alice Oseman. I love the Heartstopper series to death. Every single one is 5 stars, and every single one is like a true 5-star. This is not a situation where I just love the series and love the characters, so I'm giving them all 5 stars, which I think is totally valid, but each time I pick up a new volume of Heartstopper, I am overwhelmed with joy, with love, with emotions, with happiness, with relating to these characters, and I always get that 5-star feeling. So in this book, we follow Nick and Charlie as they deal with some coming of age moments in their relationship. This was so good. I teared up multiple times while reading it. I can really relate to some of the things that these characters have been through, and I just think that this is such an important graphic novel series, and I truly cannot recommend it enough. If you have not given it a shot, please do. I am not a graphic novel girly. I didn't ever really have an intention of picking up Heartstopper, but my lovely best friend Kara told me like a year or 2 ago, she was like, you should really try Heartstopper. They are really, really great. Give it a shot. And she was right. I gave the first one 5 stars immediately, and I was like, oh my god, I get it. This is so amazing. I really think everyone should read this. I think it's super important and just such a happy, wonderful, and at times very moving series. I will be rereading it for the rest of my life, honestly, and it's so bittersweet that the final volume will be coming out, I want to say, in the fall. I'm looking forward to it, but also I never want this to end. If Alice Oseman wants to write like 20 editions of Heartstopper, I'm there. I will be buying every single one. But this was an excellent installment in the series, a very strong 5-star. The next book that I read in the month of February was The Wrath of the Dawn by Renee Audier. So this is a YA fantasy romance. It's the first book in a duology. It is also a 1001 Nights retelling. In this book, our male main character is named Halid, and Halid is known as this evil king because every single night he takes a new bride, and by morning that bride is dead. So the entire kingdom, the entire land is just petrified and in fear of him, and obviously very fearful fearful of their daughters and their sisters being taken as brides. Enter our female main character. Her name is Scheherazade, and she is hell-bent on stopping Khalid. One of her best friends ends up being one of the brides whose life is ended by Khalid, so Scheherazade offers herself up as a bride for Khalid, which is obviously very rare, very unique. Like, people don't do that, so everyone is really fearful, really concerned for her to do this, and this strikes Khalid as very interesting. He is very immediately intrigued by Scheherazade because she did offer herself up. Scheherazade, though, is able to charm Khalid on the first night. She tells him this very interesting story and convinces him to let her live one more day. And she continues to do this for quite a while as the two of them develop feelings for one another. I love this book because it has one of the top tier fantasy romance tropes, which is I'm supposed to kill you, but. I really love that trope, and I think it is done so well in this book. This was a very strong 4-star read for me. The writing of this book is absolutely fantastic and just transports you. I really think that this is kind of a cut above a lot of other YA fantasy romances because of Renee Audier's writing and her prose. I think it is beautiful and so immersive, and I really enjoyed this book. It ended on an amazing cliffhanger. I'm so excited to see what happens. I did order book 2. It actually just got delivered while I've been filming this, so I definitely want to pick that up soon and continue out with Khalid and Shehrazade's story. The banter is great. The tension and romance between our main characters is very good. The enemies to lovers is done very well, and once again, just great setting and writing, so cannot recommend this enough. All right, and then the next book that I read in February was That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon by Kimberly Lemming. So this is a cozy fantasy romance, and I would also say a little bit of a rom-com. There is a ton of humor in this book, following our main character Cinnamon. As the title suggests, she inadvertently saves a demon, and this sets her off on a quest to help this demon in saving his people. This book was a ton of fun. There is so much humor and wit in this book that I really enjoyed, that kept me very engaged in the story. I also thought the romance was done so well. Our characters have a ton of tension and attraction to one another. The spice was a lot of fun, and I also really loved our main character Cinnamon because Cinnamon to me is so relatable and so real. She was just so great. Overall though, I did give this book a 3-star rating. I enjoyed myself. I thought that it was well written. I had a good time, but I am not a cozy fantasy girly, and I think that I figured that out about myself. This book reminds me a lot of Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree, which I think is a super cute book as well, but I also gave it 3 stars because I'm just not drawn to the cozy fantasy world and setting and aesthetic. I like higher stakes. I like more epic fantasy, and so I think if you are a cozy fantasy person, this is an excellent book for you to read. Also, if you like Legends and Lattes, I 100% think that you will like this because they totally give me the same vibe. So this was a lot of fun, but because I'm just not a cozy fantasy reader, I'm gonna give this book 3 stars, but I did still think that this was really cute and really fun. The next book that I read in the month of February was Slaying the Shadow Prince by Helen Shorer. So this is a standalone book in the Mortal Enemies to Monster Lovers series, and this book is a prequel to the Legends of Thesmar series by Helen Shorer, the first book being Blood and Steel, and I enjoyed myself with this book. We have our main characters Drew and Talamir. Drew is a ranger and she protects her kingdom from these evil like shadow wraith beings. Enter Talamir, who is a war sword from a different kingdom who comes to investigate things that are going on in Drew's land. And Talamir was actually attacked by a shadow wraith and so has some of that shadow wraith ability in him. So Drew does not trust him. She thinks that he is possibly this bad person coming to trick them all, but the two of them and their friends set out on a quest as they investigate what is going on in Drew's kingdom and of course fall in love. This is enemies to lovers, and I thought that there were some very wonderful banter moments between our characters and really great tension, but after finishing this book, it just felt like a 3-star. You know when you read a book and you're like, this was good, I had fun. I don't really feel much more than that. That is what this book is for me. Like, I can't pinpoint one specific thing that I disliked about the book, but I also can't pinpoint one specific thing that's like, oh my god, this is an amazing strong 4-star or 5 stars, blew me out of the water. This is just good. I liked it. And I'm sorry if that's not like a great way to indicate if you guys would like this book or not. I thought that it was perfectly fine. It was good. I will say, if you have read the Legends of Thesmar series, definitely make sure that you pick this book up. I believe the author recommended you read it after Blood and Steel. So read Blood and Steel, pick this up, and then go into Vows and Ruins and Fates and Furies. But if you have not picked this up at all, you definitely should, because I do believe the events that happen in this book are going to come up at some point in the series. And I just think that you will appreciate having that extra background. The next book that I read in the month of February, once again, it was not on my TBR, but my Libby hold came in for the audiobook, and this is a book that I've been meaning to reread for a very long time, so the Libby gods decided that February would be the month that I reread People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. So at one time, this was my favorite contemporary romance of all time. I read this book right when it came out in 2021, I believe, and this is a friends to lovers romance, and I remember when I read this book, I had so much fun, and I was just like freaking out because I was getting into adult contemporary romance, and this was just everything to me. And I have to say, on a reread, this really holds up. I gave this book 5 stars again. I had so much fun reading this. I was smiling the entire time. I think that this is the best Friends to Lovers that I have ever read in a contemporary setting. This just feels so unmatched to the other Friends to Lovers books that I have read. This is my favorite Emily Henry book. If you've been here for a while, you know that I haven't had too much luck with her latest releases, and I'm holding out hope that Funny Story is gonna work for me. But this definitely renewed my love for Emily Henry's writing, and I also really like Beach Read by her, so I know that I can like one of her books. I just unfortunately haven't liked the newer releases, but People We Meet on Vacation is my favorite Emily Henry. I think it is so good and still stands out as one of my favorite contemporary romances I've ever read. All right, the next book I read in February, which is a book that I think we all read in February, was Bride by Ali Hazelwood. So this is a paranormal romance between a vampire and a werewolf. In this book, our main character ends up in an arranged marriage with a werewolf to try to improve relations between the vampires and the werewolves. And this book was a ton of fun and super cute. I think Ali Hazelwood's writing does really well in a paranormal romance setting. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I have had some like mixed experiences with Ali Hazelwood's writing, but this really worked for me, and I am excited to see what else we get from Ali Hazelwood in the paranormal romance world. I really liked the banter between our main characters. Also, the spice was really fun. There were elements of paranormal romance spice that I had not been introduced to yet until I read this book, but I enjoyed myself. I thought that it was really fun. I think this is a really cute book. It's not a 5 star for me. I enjoyed myself, but I wasn't like, oh my god, this is the best book of the year. This is a new favorite of all time. But I thought that this was a good time. So very solid 4-star read for me, and I will pick up any other paranormal romances that Ali Hazelwood comes out with. The next book that I read in the month of February was Lore of the Wilds by Annalise Sobrana. So this is a debut novel by this author, and I thought it was a YA fantasy romance, but the author has posted that it is new adult to adult. In this book, we follow our main character Lore. She is a human, and all of the humans have been trapped in this land by a magical curse that was put on them many centuries ago. They don't live a very great life. There are also a lot of fae around that present a lot of danger to the humans. One day though, while Lore is working in an apothecary, she ends up meeting some fae, and she reveals to them that she can read the fae language. This incites the fae monarchy to request that Lore comes to their castle and uncovers some secrets of an enchanted library in the castle. So this castle had a curse put on it many centuries ago where no fae could go inside the library, but when one of them meets Lore and see that she's a human but she can also read the fae language, they ask her to go in it, and in exchange they will provide some money for her and some protection for her family and friends. And Lore takes this opportunity to not only provide that protection for her family and friends, but also discover how her and all of the other humans can maybe potentially get out of this cursed land that they have been locked into. We do have a love triangle in this book between one of the like guards at the fae castle and then also a fae that we meet who is the brother of one of her friends, and we watch Lore fall in love, try to figure out her feelings, and then also discover some things about the land that she is in and about herself. So this book was a lot of fun. Number one, I love the author's writing style. This book just felt very joyful and whimsical. I love the aesthetic of this book. The fantasy fae vibes were very well done, and I actually really enjoyed the way that the romance went by the end of the book. In most of the book, I was kind of like, I'm not really feeling this romance. I don't really know. But then, obviously, I knew by the cover it was going to be a love triangle, but once that kind of gets presented, I found the romance overall to be just so much more interesting, and I was very here for it. I did have a few issues with this book, and it's mainly that I wanted more, because I do think there are so many strengths in this book, and I had a lot of fun with this, but I just wanted more from it. I feel like there were some romance dynamics, relationships, characteristics of our characters that I wish that we dove a little bit deeper on, and there were also time jumps, which I wish did not happen, because there were moments where we would have two characters like together in a situation, and then the next paragraph would be like 2 weeks after that, and I'm like, wait, 2 weeks has passed? I want to see these characters together. I want to see them in these different situations and really dig into those moments so we can appreciate the romance in those characters a little bit more. So I think that this is a solid first book in a series. I'm definitely going to pick up book 2 because I'm here for the story. I really like our main character Lore, and I want to see what's going to happen. There was also a very fun reveal that happens at the end of this book that I did not expect. So absolutely love that. I definitely just want more, and I want to dive deeper, and I want more time with our characters and not so many time jumps in the second book. So I hope that that does happen in book 2. So I'm definitely going to keep my eye out for when that comes out. But this was really fun and solid. I gave it a 3.5 star. I did round up to 4 stars on Goodreads, but I think it's more like a 3.5 star because I definitely was left wanting a lot more, and I think that we could have done a bit more of an exploration of the characters and like romance development and character development, but it was still a very enjoyable and good time. Also, the audiobook is really great. Definitely recommend. So this book was very cute and enjoyable. The next book that I read in the month of February was Flame and Sparrow by S.M. Gaither. I did vlog my experience with this book, so I'm going to keep it short, but in this book, our main character is an elf, and she finds her sister's bed empty. Her sister is missing, and the only thing left in her bed is blood, so obviously she thinks something very terrible has happened, and this sets her off to take revenge on the gods. She ends up sort of bargaining with the god of fire, goes to the god realm, learns a lot about the gods, and wants to try to infiltrate and destroy them from the inside out. I unfortunately didn't really end up enjoying this book. I gave it 2 stars. I just felt like there were so many surface level things happening in this book. I don't feel like we got enough descriptions of character motivations. I don't feel like we got enough descriptions on why things were happening, and everything felt so easy and so convenient for our main character throughout the book. Once I finished it, there were some explanations for why things did happen the way that they did, but I still was just not satisfied with what we got. And because this book is so long, I feel like we could have taken more time to understand our characters, their motivations, the plot lines, but I feel like everything was just incredibly convenient and not very engaging for a reader. The stakes never really felt all that high. So this was unfortunately a 2-star read for me. In that same vlog, I read Fall of Ruin and Wrath by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I also did not really enjoy this book either. This was a 2-star read for me. I think that I dislike this book more than Flame and Sparrow though. I did not enjoy my time reading this. I didn't really love the romance. I felt that it was very lust forward. I don't really feel like there was a lot of romantic development or like desire beyond the physical in this book. I also feel like not a lot happens in this book. Like when I finished it, I was thinking, man, not a lot goes on. The plot doesn't really move that much, and I didn't really connect to our characters either. Nothing really worked for me with this book. I was reading this book in an attempt to see if I could read something new from Jennifer L. Armentrout and enjoy it. I did like a Giving Authors Second Chances reading vlog because I have previously read the first 2 books in the From Blood and Ash series and I didn't enjoy those. And now after reading this, I think that JLA is just not the author for me. This book just didn't really do anything for me, and I ended up finishing it and kind of just being like, well, I did not like that at all, and I definitely won't be continuing on with the series. So this is definitely a 2-star. All right, and then my final book that I wanted to talk about in my February wrap up, we are ending on a high note because we need to after those last couple of books, but I had my second 5-star read in the month of February, and this is like my first, full-length proper novel 5-star, and that is Glow at the Everflame by Penn Cole. I love this book so much. Oh my god, it was everything. You guys need to read the Kindred's Curse saga. That is your homework. Please pick up the first book, Spark of the Everflame, enjoy yourself, and then pick up the second book, Glow of the Everflame, and lose your mind. It is so, so good. I think that this is such a strong fantasy romance series. I am going to be reading the 3rd book this month in March, which I'm very excited about, and then the final book comes out in June, so only the first 3 books are out, and then the finale is coming. I'm so excited that I'm going to be able to read this whole series this year. I love it so much. I love Penn Cole's writing style. I love the tension, the banter we get in this book. I feel like I've talked about the series a lot in multiple videos, so I'll try to keep it a little bit short, but a very, very slow burn fantasy romance. The romance is so, so good though. We have such wonderful scenes in this book between our main characters, but things are still slow. I feel like in Heat of the Everflame, things are really going to heat up, pun intended, and I'm really looking forward to it. There's a lot of reveals in this book. There's a lot of really crazy plot twists, and we also have a wonderful found family developing in this book. I absolutely love Taran. He is my everything. I'm really excited to see what she does with his character, and I mean, I love Luther, I love Eleanor, I love DM, I love absolutely everyone in this book. This is a very classic fantasy romance series. There are a lot of the classic tropes that we see, but I think that Penn Cole really rounds out all of our characters. We get to know them super well. I definitely consider this a character-driven fantasy romance, so if you like that and you enjoy very slow burn tension between a strong and sassy female main character and then a very broody, sad boy love interest, you're going to love this. So very strong 5-star. Absolutely love this book. Will definitely be one of my best books of the year, and I just can't say enough good things about it. All right, besties, so that is it. Those are the 11 books that I read in the month of February. I would love to hear what was the best book that you read in February, and if you made it to this point in the video and you wanted to let me know, go ahead and leave the peach emoji. Please make sure that you're following me on Instagram and Goodreads. They are always linked down below. I really appreciate that you watched this video. I hope that you were having a fantastic day. I love you guys so, so much, and I will catch you all in the next one.